Princeton and Dartmouth and Cornell and Columbia. I mean, anyhow. So very, very few, to answer your question in a really roundabout, long way. Very, very few. It's really, man, I can't think of a single one right now.
Wow.
How would you compare us to Asian students?
The Asians are a bit more savvy when it comes to that. I can tell you that Hoover has placed students in Princeton, at Harvard, a couple, three. The Harvard students have been Asians, and Danny Diaz, he eventually went to Harvard. Every time he comes back to LA, he comes to see me and thanks me for convincing him to go to Harvard because he's doing fabulously well now. We have a couple of students at Stanford, and many of our students go to UCLA and USC, many. We have many fine students. Many of them are at Berkeley. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, Hoover High School places more students at UC campuses than any of the other high schools. We have a really great advanced placement program at Hoover, and we do very well with our best students. But unfortunately, our best students are not the majority.
How is that English?
Well, those that are getting into these schools obviously have very strong English skills. You know, it's funny today, just today, I read an article about a school. You might find this interesting because it deals with the Ivies. I read an article about the school they're building in New York, where it's a private school for profit. From kindergarten to 12. Every year it's $45,000, and it's basically become a school for the rich. Which time? In New York, in the Chelsea region of Manhattan, and it was called the Avenue School, and it just got built. And this guy, Bino, this really top guy in for-profit education, is running the school. But the real story was, they went to the admissions officers of the top schools on the East Coast to find out what these schools are looking for so that they can give it to their students, so that their students will obviously have an upper hand when they apply. Do you know what every one of these schools said they're looking for that they don't see anymore? And I told this because I don't see it in my students either. Humility. Humility. Hayır, Keshishian. Hamestutun shut means bagasutun morning. In this thing, and even the colleges are seeing it now, and it's probably a byproduct of, again, no science here, just anecdotal, the social networking sites that they're all so completely consumed with. Instagram, Facebook, what else? What's the other big one now?
MySpace.
Well, not MySpace, is Twitter. And when you think about it, these sites basically encourage you to promote yourself. Right? Look what I ate for lunch. Oh, who cares what you ate for lunch? Look at me doing this, look at me doing that. Invariably, these pictures look, people are preening. And it's like, really?
I call it Bharat
It's best?
I call it Bharat.
Well, I don't know, but you know, I'm with you on that. But if I took phones away from students who were using their phones while they were in my class, I would be spending the entire day taking away phones. And thank you, lawyers. Sorry if you can. We can't just take the phones away from the kids. They have the right, individual liberty to keep their phones.
Not in the classroom.
Oh, is that so? Why? Because you want equality in the classroom?
No. I want them to study in the classroom.
Well, they don't. And there are some teachers who have given in completely and actually try and build assignments around their smartphones. when a kid says, I don't know this word, can I look it up on my phone? I say, there's a dictionary on the shelf, go get it. I mean, and so when I told my students that the one thing that the IB schools were looking for in applications that they weren't seeing was humility, out of 30 kids, only 2 of them knew what humility was. And I looked at these were seniors. And I said, you're kidding, right? Not a clue.
I think that's because the universities were originally started by religious schools. And when you look at it, they were started by Christians, right?
Okay.
And in Christianity, Christ was the most humble person you could think of.
Okay.
And I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, well, it may be. I mean,
And the Proverbs is about humility, you know. And there's a lot to that. I think.
No, I believe me, I'm a proponent of humility. But my concern is, I don't see it existing in our students especially. Let me try and get refocused here. So, another thing I want to talk about was the lack of hayasityan bagasutun menashayetun mensch. Gavachna, Gazalmana. Yev kezise mertebroci mensch hinkpa haylezvitaska. You can learn Armenian language at Hoover High School. We offer it as a class. And Glendale Unified has an Armenian immersion elementary school. Now you might not be aware of what these are, but two. They also have one in Korean, they have one in Spanish, they even have one in German, where the elementary students are taught in this foreign language. So, I think it's time for the district, and I've been talking to some people, and if I can come find a good book for it, to maybe develop a elective course in Armenian history and culture. Because it alarms me at how little they know. Which is why on April 24th, when those of us are walking at the monument or at the consulate, where I am every year, we see kids driving back and forth with their cars and their Armenian flags, honking their horns, as though April 24th is, hey, look at me, I'm Armenian Day. And I try and I tell my students, we have an April 24th genocide assembly at Hoover High School every year. Most of the high schools do one. And at one assembly, I spoke to the students, 1,500 kids in the auditorium. And I told them that I was disappointed in them when I saw them do that. See, that's what it's not Armenian Independence Day. And I offended many students, apparently, when I did that. They came down on me a little bit, saying that I shouldn't talk to the students that way. Apparently, I was reprimanding them for their behavior. And
You should have humility.
yeah, I should have had more humility. You're right. I thought I was being humble when I did it. I didn't say it in a chastising way. I was saying it in a rather soft-spoken way. But so I don't know what to do about that, really. I mean, so many of our students have pride, I suppose, in being Armenian, but they don't seem to back that up with any understanding of Hagagan Malatun, Gamay Swashaguit, Yerajistutun, Karagamutun.
What about creating a...
Like every now and then you see a student with a Biden Sevak t-shirt and you're like,
But
you're
the more
going.
they don't have the resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my point is, I got it at home, but I guess they're not getting it.
Some parents are good at teaching, some aren't.
Yeah.
The schools should offer, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
What about creating a Saturday school
They exist.
in Armenian culture?
But let me tell you this. The parent that sends their child to Saturday school is already teaching that child at home. They've already, if they're,
There is Saturday Armenians.
there is.
Where?
At many of the campuses.
Hoover High School.
Not in Hoover.
What about
Mr. Harabetian, a man who was a language teacher at Hoover High School for many years, has a Saturday school.
Why not start one at Hoover High School? A Saturday Armenian culture school. You think an Armenian organization
Should do it.
if it's sponsored,
Perhaps.
it would happen?
I think that
An organization
I
like
think if we had a curriculum in a book, the district would allow teachers to teach it as part of the standard curriculum. We could offer it as an elective.
why don't we work to start it?
I've spoken to a couple of people about it, but the answer I get is then go ahead and not write one. And I haven't had I just don't have the wherewithal for something like that.
You think an organization like Knights of Malta
An organization like the Children's Fund can do something.
has sponsored?
Why not? What do you think, Uncle Sam? Can Knights of Martin do it? Or should I ask Viken? You're like a spot of now, aren't you?
Being inspired doesn't mean that we can do everything.
No?
I would say that it's a very good endeavor, yeah.
What about the churches or the ANC organizations? What are they doing?
You know, I'm with you on that one.
Where is it?
I gotta tell you, I was very disappointed with my ANC because I remember when I first came to Glendale after being in New York for all those years, and I was blown away. What kind of And I thought to myself, what a huge untapped resource. And that year, I went to the April 24th demonstration, the three parties April 24th demonstration in Hollywood. And it was so embarrassing. Kidding them not. They had set up 1,000 chairs. Gray Davis was going to come and speak. The governor was going to come and speak. They had set up 2,000 white chairs in this parking lot in Hollywood, and maybe 800 people showed up. 2 hours earlier, 15,000 Armenians were marching around Pilibos High School with the young Armenian students or these adult. And meanwhile, the Tashak Sagans, Ramgavads, and Hunchaks couldn't get 800 people to show up to their demonstration. It was so bad, the governor's advance people called him and said, "Don't come, there's no one here." And he didn't come. So I saw this, and I said to some friends I had at the ANC, and I said, "Give me $5,000. And they said, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "I will print up 1,000 black t-shirts that say United Armenian Students Glendale Schools. Okay? And I'll give it to the Armenian Club at Hoover, and to the Armenian Club at Glendale, and to the Armenian Club at CV, and tell them, sell these shirts, okay? And I said to them, I promise you, I will bring 1,000 students to any demonstration you have next year." They turned me down. They said, "How are we going to control these kids?" I said, "Well, you're not going to control them." I said, "But maybe 100 of them might join the AYF, or maybe 50 would even join the AYF out of 1,000, and you'd still be double your numbers." Anyhow, do you know who grabbed the idea? Greg Krikorian. And we did it with him, which is why he wins year after year after year now in Glendale, because he is the He's the only one who's harnessed the power of these kids. And every year now, he wins his election in Glendale with 10,000 votes, more than anybody.
He's on the Board of Education in Glendale.
I'm sorry, maybe you're not familiar with Greg Krikorian. I apologize. Greg Krikorian. He's on the Board of Education at Glendale, and he has been for, I think he just got elected to his 3rd term.
Yeah, he just recently lost his father too.
Did Mr. Krikorian die?
Yeah.
John died?
2 weeks ago.
April 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea.
Korean's father.
He died of, I think he had a heart failure.
Well, he was pretty old. I I mean, I guess he was, I shouldn't say that, he's about as old as my dad.
April 10th.
Are you friends with Rick?
Yeah, they mentioned. No, we were at the Glendale High School and.
Oh, he mentioned it.
Yeah.
We were there, they mentioned it. that-
I'm sorry?
I read.
Well, they were starting to us, but.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he was a very,
Any other questions?
Yeah, I like to ask a question. Recently, last 5-6 years, we had a new trend came up in California. The new schools that
you mean the charter schools? The charter schools.
Charter schools, yeah.
Why don't we start an Armenian charter school?
Are they
There is one now.
effective in teaching Armenian as well as?
I couldn't tell you.
No.
I can only tell you what I know about charter schools.
Okay,